Hello again from CREA. We are excited for our backyard exploration with you today.
All right, great job finishing your nature journal. So we have our nature journal done. You made your weather key, determine what the weather is outside. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna head outside for our first activity. All right, so we are ready for our first activity. Before I start doing anything else, I need to record the date and I need to record the weather. So I'm gonna look around. Woo! It is sunny today. And on my weather key, I'm gonna check. All right, that's what I made for sunny. And whoa, it definitely is windy today. So I'll have to put some wind next to it as well. Great. So our first activity is called Bud Bunny. This time of year, all around your yard, you'll find trees that have little tiny buds that are starting to open up. And the mystery is whether there'll be a flower or a leaf, because both things can open from a little tiny bud. So your first job is to get a piece of string and head out into the yard. Now look all around your yard until you find a bud that you think will be exciting, and guess if you think it'll be a flower or a leaf.
Now, don't just pick the very first bud you see. There are a lot of different kinds of buds out in your yard. So the first thing you need to do is grab a grown-up who can come with you and go on a little scavenger hunt. See how many different kinds of buds you can find. See if you can find at least 5 different kinds of buds in your yard or your neighborhood. There are big ones, there are small ones. Sometimes there's big and small on the same branch. You can see they often have little like scales, like bud scales. And you want to search for a bud that hasn't opened those scales yet. Sometimes they're just starting to open and the buds look different from each other. Sometimes you can tell they're green on the inside, which might give you a clue they're a leaf. Or maybe they're a color, like yellow, that might give you a clue it's going to be a flower. So sometimes those bud scales have started to open. And you can see that little green leaf or that little colorful flower just starting to poke out. But other times, they haven't. So what you want to do is go around all around your yard and see if you can find at least 5 different kinds of buds. And find ones that haven't opened yet, that are still curled up nice and tight so that it'll be a total surprise what's on the inside. And that's the bud that you can choose to take a guess. Tie your string around it and guess, is this bud going to turn into a flower or a leaf?
When you found that bud, take your string. I think I'm gonna pick this one right here. And I'm gonna tie my string right next to it, so I remember which one I picked.
And if you're having trouble picking just one kind of bud, that's fine. You can do 2 or 3. Just get a couple more pieces of string.
So now you're gonna look really close at your bud and draw it on that page you just wrote the date on. So my bud has a little pointy tip and then it gets really fat at the bottom. And it's got some different colors on it. It's a little bit of a little leaf shade over here. Little part that sticks out over here. And then I'm gonna look at my bud and I'm gonna think, do I think this is gonna become a flower or a leaf? And my guess, I'm gonna write right next to my bud. And then you have a picture of your bud buddy. You can come back and check on it over the next week or so and watch if it changes, because it'll start to open and then it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can record all those right in your nature journal.
So now it's your turn. Out of all those different buds that you found on the little scavenger hunt in your yard or your neighborhood, pick one or two that you want to keep track of, tie a string around, and then go get your nature journal and bring it back and do a sketch. Do a little drawing. Look really closely at your bud. Draw the little bud scales. Make sure to draw the shape of the bud that you see and see if you can measure the size. Like, is the bud as big as your fingernail on your pinky? Or is it smaller? How big is the bud? And then every day, come back and check on your bud buddy. See how your buddy's doing. It'll only take a second, but your bud is going to grow super fast and change really quickly. And you'll be able to figure out if it was a bud that was going to turn into a leaf or a flower.